In the Name of God. Sophia's Programming Journey. Shoot to Score, a Python game of chance. These are the topics that we are going to talk about. Introduction. The game. Player score. Opponent score. Gameplay. Shoot. Quit. Player shot. Opponent shot. Scoring. Goal. Opponent scored. Save. Invalid choice. Winning. Losing. Game over. Congratulations! The opponent won. Tips. Python code. Import random. Player score variable. Opponent score variable. Conclusion. Welcome to our presentation on the exciting game of soccer. Soccer is a sport that has captured the hearts of millions around the world, and we're here today to introduce you to a fun and interactive way to experience it. Our presentation will guide you through the ins and outs of the game, from the basic rules to advanced strategies, so that you can become a true soccer champion. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn all about this amazing game. The game is a fast-paced, action-packed soccer simulation that puts the player in the shoes of a professional athlete. The objective of the game is to score as many goals as possible while preventing the opponent from doing the same. Players can choose from a variety of options such as shooting, saving the ball, or quitting the game. Each choice has its own unique consequences and can affect the outcome of the game. With every successful goal, players earn points that contribute to their final score. However, missing a shot or allowing the opponent to score will result in a loss of points. The player's score is one of the most important aspects of the game. It determines who is winning and losing, and it can be affected by a variety of factors. To calculate the player's score, the game takes into account the number of goals scored, the number of saves made, and the number of opponent shots blocked. Each of these factors contributes to the player's overall score, and they must all be taken into consideration when trying to win the game. The opponent's score is calculated in a similar way to the player's score, using a combination of successful shots and saves. However, the opponent also receives bonus points for successfully blocking the player's shots and scoring goals. It's important for the player to not only focus on their own score, but also keep an eye on the opponent's score and try to prevent them from scoring too many goals or making too many successful blocks. The gameplay of this game is designed to be simple yet engaging. The player and the opponent take turns shooting the ball towards each other's goal. Each turn consists of two options, shoot or save. If the player chooses to shoot, the ball will be directed towards the opponent's goal. If the player chooses to save, they will attempt to block the opponent's shot. The game progresses with each turn until one of the players scores a goal or the player chooses to quit. The player can score a goal by successfully shooting the ball into the opponent's goal. The opponent can score a goal if the player fails to save their shot. The game ends when one of the players reaches the winning score or the player chooses to quit. The shoot option is a crucial part of the game. When the player selects this option, they attempt to score a goal by shooting the ball towards the opponent's goal post. The success of the shot depends on various factors such as the position of the player, the angle of the shot, and the speed of the ball. It requires precise timing and accuracy to score a goal. However, selecting the shoot option also has its risks. If the shot misses the goal post, the opponent gains possession of the ball and can counterattack. Moreover, if the shot is not powerful enough, the opponent's goalkeeper can easily save it. Therefore, the player must weigh the pros and cons before selecting this option. The quit option is a tempting one, but it should be used with caution. If the player selects this option, the game will end immediately and all progress will be lost. It's important to only use this option if the player is truly ready to quit playing. If the player accidentally selects the quit option, there is no way to undo it. The game will simply end and the player will have to start over from the beginning. So, it's important to be careful when selecting options in the game. When the player chooses to shoot, a random number is generated between 1 and 6. This number represents the accuracy of the shot, with higher numbers indicating a more accurate shot. If the shot is successful, the ball will go past the opponent's goalie and into the net, resulting in a goal for the player. However, if the shot is not successful, the opponent's goalie will save the ball and play will continue. The opponent's shot is generated using a complex algorithm that takes into account various factors such as the position of the ball, the opponent's skill level, and the player's defensive strategy. The opponent may choose to shoot at any time during gameplay, and it is up to the player to anticipate and defend against these shots. It is important for the player to remain focused and alert throughout the game in order to successfully defend against the opponent's shots. Scoring is a crucial aspect of the game that determines who wins and who loses. A player can score a goal by successfully shooting the ball into the opponent's net. Each goal earns the player 1 point, and the first player to reach a predetermined number of points wins the game. However, scoring is not the only way to earn points in the game. Players can also earn points by successfully saving the ball from going into their own net. Each save earns the player half a point. This means that even if a player is not able to score many goals, they can still win the game by making strategic saves. When the player scores a goal, the game rewards them with points and resets the field. The player's score increases by 1, and the opponent's score remains the same. The player also gets to take the next shot. Scoring a goal requires strategy and skill. The player must aim carefully and time their shot perfectly. It's a satisfying feeling when the ball hits the back of the net, and the crowd goes wild. When the opponent scores a goal, the player's score decreases by 1 point. This can be frustrating, but it's important to stay focused and keep playing. Losing a point doesn't mean the game is over, and there are still opportunities to score and win. Additionally, when the opponent scores a goal, the ball is reset to the center of the field and gameplay resumes. It's important to be prepared for this and quickly get back into position to defend against the opponent's next shot. When the player chooses to save the ball, they attempt to block the opponent's shot from entering the goal. If successful, the game continues and the player earns points for their skill. However, if the opponent scores, the player loses points and must continue playing. To successfully save the ball, the player must anticipate the direction of the opponent's shot and move their character accordingly. This requires quick reflexes and careful observation of the opponent's movements. In the game, there are only 2 valid choices: shoot and quit. If the player selects an invalid choice, the game will display an error message and ask the player to choose again. This is done to prevent any unintended actions from occurring and to ensure that the game proceeds smoothly. It is important to pay attention to the options presented and select the correct one to avoid losing points or ending the game prematurely. To win the game, the player must score more goals than the opponent. This can be achieved by shooting the ball into the opponent's goal while preventing them from scoring in yours. However, winning requires strategy and quick thinking. The player must carefully choose when to shoot, when to save, and when to quit. They must also anticipate the opponent's moves and react accordingly. It's a challenging but rewarding experience when you finally come out on top. Losing the game can be frustrating, but it's also a valuable learning experience. When the opponent scores more goals than the player, the game is over and the player loses. The player can choose to play again and apply the strategies they learned from their previous game. In addition to losing the game, the player also loses any progress they made in terms of scoring. It's important to not get discouraged and keep practicing to improve their gameplay. Losing is a necessary step towards winning. When the game is over, the player's final score will be displayed on the screen. The player can then choose to play again or quit the game. If the player chooses to play again, the game will restart with a new opponent and the score is reset to 0. If the player chooses to quit, the game will end and the Python code will stop running. It is important to note that the player's final score will determine whether they win or lose the game. If the player's score is higher than the opponent's score, the player wins. If the opponent's score is higher than the player's score, the player loses. In either case, the game over screen will provide the player with the option to play again or quit the game. Congratulations! You have won the game and emerged as the champion. Your strategic moves and quick reflexes have paid off, and you have proven yourself to be a worthy opponent. Your dedication and perseverance have led you to this moment of triumph. As you bask in the glory of your victory, remember that success comes to those who are willing to work hard and never give up. Unfortunately, the opponent has won this time. It's natural to feel disappointed when you lose, but remember that losing is a part of the game. Use this experience as an opportunity to learn and improve your skills for the next game. Don't let the loss discourage you from playing again. Keep practicing and trying new strategies to see what works best for you. Remember, the more you play, the better you'll get. One of the key strategies for winning the game is to stay alert and anticipate your opponent's moves. Keep an eye on their positioning and try to predict where they will shoot the ball. Another important tip is to make use of the save option. This can be a game changer, as it allows you to prevent your opponent from scoring and gives you another chance to take control of the ball. Here is the Python code for the game. As you can see, we start by importing the random module to generate random numbers for the opponent's shots. We then define the players and opponent's scores as variables. The game loop runs until either the player or the opponent reaches 5 points. Within the loop, the player is prompted to choose between shooting or saving the ball. If they choose to shoot, a random number is generated to determine if they score. If they choose to save, another random number is generated to determine if they successfully save the ball. The opponent's shot is also determined by a random number, and the game progresses accordingly. The import random statement in the code is used to generate random numbers. This is an important feature of the game, as it ensures that each playthrough is unique and unpredictable. Without this statement, the game would become repetitive and boring. By introducing randomness into the game, players are forced to think on their feet and adapt to changing circumstances. The player score variable in the code refers to the score of the player in the game. It is initialized to 0 at the beginning of the game and is updated every time the player scores a goal. The value of this variable determines the outcome of the game, as the player wins when their score is higher than the opponent's score. The player score variable is an important part of the game logic and is used in multiple places throughout the code. It is also displayed on the screen during gameplay so that the player can keep track of their progress. The opponent's score variable in the code is responsible for keeping track of the opponent's score. This variable is initialized to 0 at the beginning of the game and is updated whenever the opponent scores a goal. The opponent's score is calculated by adding a random number between 1 and 3 to their current score. This ensures that the opponent's score increases unpredictably, making the game more challenging for the player. In conclusion, we hope this presentation has given you a good understanding of the game and how it works. From explaining the gameplay to discussing scoring and the different options available, we have covered everything you need to know to get started. We encourage you to try the game for yourself and see how well you can do. With tips and strategies provided, you can improve your skills and aim for the top score. So what are you waiting for? Give it a try and see how much fun you can have.